Welcome to this video on the sun through all 12 houses in astrology. I'm Everett Curdy, and I want to welcome you to my YouTube channel. If you're new, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel so that it can grow. I do videos on astrology and spirituality, and in this video, it is going to be a general astrology video. So we're talking about the sun. I'm going to talk about a little bit of what it means, the sun in terms of the actual planet or luminary in astrology. And then I'm going to take you through the sun placed in all 12 houses and how the sun, say the sun in the first house based off the sun in the fifth house or fourth house, how each placement is different and distinct from one another. And you're going to see that. This video will be timestamped, so feel free to jump to whatever house placement is yours. And you can also check out any other house placement in the timestamps. You don't necessarily have to go in the order and watch the whole video. Maybe you can watch a timestamp of a placement that you're just interested in, or you can just go right to your placement or watch the whole thing. Any way that works best for you, any way that makes sense to you, and whatever you want to do, however you want to approach this video is great. Now, we're talking about the sun. And so the sun rules Leo, and it corresponds to the fifth house. And so the sun naturally deals with self-expression. It deals with you being the center of your universe and all the planets revolve around you. Because in astrology, all the other planets revolve around the sun, and that is an astronomical truth. So the sun is how you express yourself authentically as an authentic spiritual being living a human experience. And also the sun is just how you, as I said, express yourself in creative ways. It deals with conscious awareness. It deals with thinking, although that's more Mercury's domain of thinking rationally and logically and strategically and intellectually. But the sun Mercury is the closest planet to the sun. And so there's similarities with the qualities of the sun and Mercury. But the sun is our conscious awareness. It is the light that sort of shines down upon life where we're aware of our surroundings and how we want to show up and shine our light in that environment, how we want to approach those environments. So the sun is also the ego mind. It is sort of the vessel that the spiritual part of us can approach this world in. And so it's the I, like whenever you throw I into a sentence, you're talking about yourself, your ego, your conscious, mind, and your, wants, and your desires. And so how you show up in the world is a huge part of what the sun is about and how you direct your life. It also is your life force, your strength, your power. The sun really points to you being very strong in who you are, because the sun is who you are at your core. And, it deals with confidence and the power that you possess with you being, who you are and not necessarily needing others to define your worth and define who you are and your place in the world. So the sun is who we become as individuals. The sun sign is something that we sort of feel our way into and step into and embody as we sort of evolve through life and we sort of learn the lessons, especially the shadow sides of the sun. And we go through life and we grow and mature the qualities of whatever our sun sign is, and we step into that energy more fully and authentically, the more we grow. So it deals with vitality, so, energy. It also has a connection to the father, so your father figure. And so, my dad is a Leo sun. Leo is ruled by the sun, so that makes a lot of sense. But so, yeah, it deals with, the sun's masculine in nature. It corresponds to your connection with your father or the father in your life based off of what sign that your sun is in. Um, and yeah, so, your father figure and your relationship to your father figure. Maybe the sun sign can indicate that. So let's begin by talking about the sun in the first house. So whenever we're talking about, the sun in the first house, we're dealing with, identity and individuality, because these are all things that the first house rules. You're thinking about all 12 houses in astrology, um, and, all 12 houses correspond to all 12 zodiac signs. And so the sun in the first house person may have their ascendant close to their sun, and their ascendant may be the same sign as their sun, so that they embody and show, and they can step into the qualities of their sun sign more fully. And so, with the first house, people with displacement really have a strong urge to be in the limelight. They were truly meant to shine as a unique individual in this life. So they want the leadership roles. They want to, be the center stage. They want to be, the spotlight. Not so much attention speaking, but they want to assert themselves and go after whatever goal that they need and want in their life. So they want to take the lead. It's really, really important for someone in the first house to steer the ship of their own life, that they feel that they are in control of their own destiny, that they're moving on their own path as opposed to being sort of forced onto somebody else's path and, moving on their path. It's really important for the sun in the first house to be independent and to live a life where they're truly making their own decisions and being, who they are and who they were truly meant to be. They also take advantage of opportunities. They take advantage at what strikes them, and they are not afraid to make the first move. They are initiators because the first house connects to Aries. So they take advantage of the opportunities that are presented with them, and they run with those opportunities, and they can really do great with making a mark on the world. So they're very concerned with their self, their identity, their needs, wants, and desires, and also their self-expression and who are they truly being. They're concerned with the I. This placement can also be very strong in any kind of, as I said, leadership or boss positions where they're, in control. And so, yeah, so then the goals that they, achieve, so they have a desire to achieve goals in the world. And they achieve these goals in a very direct fashion, in a very straightforward fashion. They have a target, and then they have the ambition and desire and stamina and commitment to, move towards that. They have the energy to, move towards that. And so, and they do it in a very focused way. So generally they have, good physical health, bodily health, and mental health, as well, in good spirits. They really have a very positive and optimistic outlook on life. They're very ambitious, so they have a lot of things that they want to achieve, and there's an air of confidence about them. They know who they are. They're very self-assured. They believe in themselves. They know what they want. And they're strong in who they are. So there's a strong sense of identity with this placement. They're also very extroverted and highly social. They can, put themselves in social circles and get to know many, many people. They're unafraid to express themselves and put themselves out there in the world and tell who they are, show who they are. And yeah, so they're very strong-willed. There's a willpower that comes in, but the downside is becoming egoic. And possibly becoming very self-centered as a result of this focus on the self, where it's all about them and what they want and all those kinds of things like that, and them being in control. And the other thing is maybe being over controlling in addition to some of those self-centered qualities. So humility is needed when it comes to understanding other people's perspectives and honoring others' needs and wants as well as your own. And so compromise and collaboration and the give and take in relationships and establishing healthy nourishing relationships is also really, really important, so that they're not taking full, center stage, and it's not, the them show, and they're not, taking all the power away from the other person. So that is what this placement really is all about. So what if you have your sun in the second house? Well, the second house deals with several things, which I'm going to talk about. So, someone who has their natal sun in the second house is very concerned with values, very concerned with things in the material realm, aspects of the material realm. Is it good food? Is it, a stable job? Is it a roof over your head? All of these kind of things, from what you like, from what, for what you need, all these kind of things. So very concerned with values and have very strong personal values and a strong sense of self-worth, that they value themselves, and they truly want to put themselves in situations where others value them. So, that's something really, really important here. And they're focused on wealth as a priority, and, making money, very concerned with making money. They have a talent for making money, which is very, very strong. And they learn how to make money at an early age. So, this is a huge sort of manifesting, aspect for them. And then the other thing is that their possessions, their material possessions, are also really important to them. They can also, at the low level, define themselves through material possessions alone. The money that I have is not enough, or the books that I have is not enough, all these kind of things not being enough, and basing their sense of self-worth on those things alone. And the truth is that money cannot buy happiness, and not just finding the inner wealth and inner abundance within themselves. So that can be one of the negative sides of this particular placement. And also overspending, just, paying money on these things that they're attracted or drawn to or that they want to buy, which they may not need to spend all that money. So, overspending can be another downside. So, for them to be aware of their spending habits and not overdoing it. Because the sun, rules Leo, and it can be very egoic, and it can be, sort of over the top and, self-centered, and, or it can be so much that, everything in moderation, it can be too much, and it can be exaggerated and destructive and overbearing and negative and overindulgent. So that overspending is something to watch out for. I'm now going to have a discussion about the sun in the third house in astrology. So what does it mean when the sun, which is this celestial body that provides so much warmth and light, when it transits the third house? Now, I sort of changed how I did this video because I'm filming this late in the day on Sunday. I've sort of changed the setup of this portion of the video. So I've turned the light out and I turned this light on because you can think of light bulbs of information. And information and knowledge is a huge part of what we're going to delve into. But the sun is so bright and vital and warmth. It is basically you are beaming down from the heavens and shining your generosity with whatever flavor it is. And you express solar qualities of energy and personal power and confidence in yourself in different areas of life, where all the houses are in astrology, because every single house is a different area of life. And so the third house, we're going to talk about this. So if you have your sun in the third house, you're very, very intellectual. Your mind is so sharp and so intelligent and so brilliant. Your mind is the superpower that you are shining down upon others. And through your mind, that's how you creatively express yourself. Because in the introduction of this video, I discussed the sun as being a sort of source of self-expression. Who you really are. And who you really are is somebody who has a way with words. You're somebody who truly has the gift of the gab. So your mind works brilliantly. It's very sharp. It is very poignant on what it wants to say. It is very quick, and so many ideas come into your mind that you feel the need to communicate. And you are here to communicate, with whatever sign that your sun is in. Those signs translate into communication, which is the third house. So you're very, very intellectual. You also have a way with words. You speak very, very eloquently, very nicely, very thoroughly, very, again, in a smart way. Speak very, very well. And so there's this need with the sun in the third house in a person's natal chart to verbally express themselves in whatever way that they want to. whatever way that they feel inspired to do that. So is it through reading, writing, or whatever it is. So expressing themselves is very, very chatty. They love to have conversations. They love to share all the information that they have gathered, and they have collected all this information. They have all this knowledge. They have all these ideas to share of so many things that they've experienced and learned, and just have that come into their mind that they have a yearning to let it out and to express those ideas. So they're very chatty. They love to talk, have conversations, learn things from other people, engage with people, have the back and forth flowing conversations, just really getting those social connections going, because social connections are huge for this placement. And it can be a real mood booster and a real motivation booster. It can really, really turn them on. The sun is basically, I'm getting up in the morning and I'm doing something that can turn me on to live another day. Like, what is the reason why I'm getting out of bed in the morning? And certain conversations can spark the sun in third house person, the person with the sun in the third house's life force. And so they like to engage with people, learn from them, bounce ideas, receive ideas, share ideas, take in new information. They don't want the same thing. And they're sort of here, there, everywhere. They're very restless. They want to be on the move. They want to be, take action. They want to go over to this place and that place and, collect all this new knowledge and information. They're hungry for excitement and adventure and spontaneity and novelty. Something that can stimulate their mind. They are hungry for that. They want some stimulation. They want to read. They want to watch documentaries. They want to go to museums, go to this new place, meet this new person, engaging their mind with the world, with society, with their community, with people around them, because they are really meant to shine in their community as well, with the people in their community, because that's very Gemini focused, because to have a sun in the third house is very similar to the sun in Gemini. And so there is a very strong connection with your community, with your neighbors. It's very, very huge when it comes to, the third house. And so, engaging with that community in short distance travel, running errands, those kind of things are very, very nourishing and very important for this placement. So they love, they have very strong literary skills. So they love reading, again, engaging the mind, taking in new information, and writing as well. They really have a love for the written word, a love to communicate their thoughts on paper. And I think that there's something interesting about writing, is that with writing, you can express yourself in a different way when you're writing as opposed to just speaking. I don't know what it is, but maybe you can express yourself more creatively or in a type of way that is very, very different than speaking, where you can sit down and really think about your ideas and really let your imagination and mental mind and creative juices flow wherever they may be, and you're writing down your ideas and spending time with the ideas that you have. I mean, I don't know what it is, but journaling can be, whatever type of writing it is, be it a story, be it, poetry, be it informational writing, be it journaling. again, the need to communicate their thoughts and write down their thoughts, ideas, and visions, hopes, and dreams, etc., onto paper is super huge. So they love learning, and they learn from when they were, born, after they went through the birth canal to when they're children. They usually pick up on reading, writing, literacy, speaking very, very quickly. Um, and then they just continue that process and then further advance it until, throughout their life. Because, there's a saying that, learning is not necessarily in a vacuum, but we are all lifelong learners. We start from, point A and we go all the way up to point Z from, very early in our life to the end of our life. We are lifelong learners, and it is that this lifelong learning process of continually taking in new ideas and new information and integrating it and and formulating our opinions and perspectives on the world through that information that we gain, that is ever changing and ever growing and expanding and evolving and making itself more nuanced. um and so, there's a love for learning throughout their life. They're truly lifelong learners through the people they meet, the places they go, etc. So they make great teachers as well. They need to share information, and there's also a very strong ability to really pick up on the cues of how other people are tracking the speaker. And to see maybe they're not engaging with me in the way that I want them to. So this is how I'm going to communicate in a more engaging and a more simple and easy to understand, to the point way. So they're very attuned to people and how they're receiving the information. They make great teachers with the need to teach others, with the need to share information on to others. They really want to leave a mark and an impact on the world through their verbal expression. Remember, the sun doesn't, share all of its warmth and light and glory. It spreads it onto the plants. That, makes the plants grow, and then we have all this food and all this abundance. It shines down on the waters. It gives us, energy. I mean, the sun is you being very, very strong in your unique power, and you beaming it out, you radiating that power out into the world, because you have all that power and that cup is overflowing, and you feel the soul desire to share that power, to share that warmth and that energy and that spark of life. And so it is here that it is through the mind, through the words. They make great writers as well, and they make great journalists, researchers, anyone who investigates and takes the information and reports that information, journals about that information. They also have a lot of friends as well, people with Mercury in the third house. They have a lot of friends that they know very, very well, or they have a lot of acquaintances. They have a wide social circle. Probably, I'm making assumptions here, but they may have this, where they know a lot of people, and they're sort of spreading themselves out very, very wide, maybe even thin. And that's another downside that we're going to get to later, where they know a lot of people and they want to continue to meet new people, continue to take in new information, continue to engage with different people. New, fresh, interesting, exciting, not same old, same old. Again. So, yeah. So they're good at having conversations, and they're also good at starting conversations, striking up conversations, initiating, knowing all kinds of conversation starters naturally, because the sun is your nature. The sun is just what you naturally came in to just show and to be and to express. So, um, you know, we can look at this particular placement and say, well, they're good because the sun, they're very assertive with their words and their communication. They may communicate and share their ideas in an assertive way. But then they also are assertive in initiating those conversations. Maybe if that sun is weakly aspected, if there it's sort of if there's hard aspects made to the sun, um, if Mercury is semi-square the sun, or whatever hard aspect, then could it make it more difficult to initiate and have conversations and to speak, um, you know, on the verbal level? Well, that could be a possibility. But yeah, having conversations, starting conversations. They also do very well in the academic world. They do very well in school. They get good grades because they're very intellectually savvy. They're very smart. They pick up on information very, very quickly. They remember it very, very well. They are what is considered to be book smart, and they can also be bookworms as well. So, yeah, they do very, very well in school. They learn very well. They also have a wide range of interests. So, there are social butterflies where they're interested in, this thing over here and that thing over there. And then it all sort of, comes together, and, because they want to disperse themselves. It's not staying in a rut of only being focused in one thing because they don't want to be boxed in on the mental level. They want to be so open, and they are so open to new ideas and this new subject matter over here. So they're very, very well versed, and they have knowledge, and they've sort of put their foot into the door and put their feet in the water of many, many different things, because variety, of knowing a lot of different things, of engaging the mind in a lot of different things. That's important. And that's something that they can sort of have and possess, is a wide range of interests, and, dabbling in a little bit of this and a little bit of that, knowing a good amount of things about a lot of different things, but not really being super committed and an expert in one or two different things. Now, that might be one of the downsides of this placement, but they are social butterflies, a sort of flighty. The butterfly sort of goes in one direction and then another direction. So they go to this situation, this person, this place, read this book, do all these different things because there is a need for variety, a need for change, a need for engagement. They do not want to be bored and stuck in one place for very long. So yeah, that can be something with displacement. They also have a good sense of humor, with that, intellectual ability comes wit, comes humor. So, great sense of humor. They could also make great comedians, stand-up comedians, all those kind of things like that. And so, yeah. So, as I said, they're versatile. They adapt well to the environment. They engage very well on a mental level with whatever environment they're in. Um, they're also very close to their siblings. So those sibling relationships, it's very likely that maybe the people with this placement have a good amount of siblings, and, they're with a family who have siblings in them. But relationships with brothers and sisters are very, very important. It's very important for the sun in the third house placement to have a healthy relationship and a nurturing relationship with siblings. So, Valuing those kind of relationships is also huge. Other careers that they could engage in is being a social media manager, a public speaker, because they can convince other people with their ideas. And the sun really wants to have a sense of personal power with the sun energy. And the sun is an energy which sort of seeks to sort of have people follow its lead because the sun is leadership. And so they can really do well with the gift of the gab to convince others to be on their side or support a cause that they're trying to convince people of joining in on, to convince people of their ideas and have them, do something different, to inspire them to make changes in their lives or to be on your side and to take your lead or, um, all those kind of things can be really, really huge. So a public speaking talent, definitely. Um, and so, yeah, being a teacher, as I said before, with other careers. And so some other sort of negative things that I want to touch on is not really being committed to just one thing, sort of, scattered all around. And that, focus, I mean, we're not meant to know everything, and people are experts and they're very, very knowledgeable in one or two different things. For example, that's what they specialize in, that's what they base their life and their career in, that's what they get money for, etc. So not, sort of, again, spreading yourself out in many, many different directions where you're learning a little bit of this and then a little bit of that, sort of like a buffet of, new information. And so the non-commitment, or non-committal or something like that, not being committed or lacking commitment to accomplish one thing, to have a goal and achieve it from start to finish, to have a focus where you're focused in a particular direction. You're going to engage your mind in this subject matter, in this, learning, and you're going to focus this, and you're going to study it up really well, and you're going to become very knowledgeable about it, very expert about it. That can be where it may be difficult to commit and to really take a deep dive into something. Because it's not the greatest at the low level for deep learning and deep communication. Small talk can be something, great for this placement, but the real deep conversations and deep learning can, not be, this person's greatest strong suit. Who knows? It's something to work on. And so, so that's something there. Gossiping, sort of, knowing what, other people are doing, and then, just sharing, sharing what is going on in their personal life, to others. And so knowing, healthy boundaries with that is, important. But I just want to sort of list that gossiping. And then something also is pairing yourself up with many, many different people, and engaging with them and having conversations with them and interacting with them. And when this happens, maybe you can lose sight of who you truly are as an authentic person in your ideas. You're getting so absorbed in the ideas and opinions and thoughts of the people that you're engaging with. So taking time to, listen to yourself, to spend some quiet time, spending some, reflection, some time for, reflection and introspection, and some meditative time is important. Um, and yeah, so maybe dominating conversations is another one, or saying something impulsively without thinking before you say, and then it hurts somebody or offends somebody, or it's whatever. And then dominating the conversation, speaking and having so many ideas that you're not, balancing it out, that it isn't a balanced conversation where you're allowing the other person to speak, and to speak and then listen to that person, because it's a conversation, not with yourself, but between two people. It takes two people to be in a conversation. It takes one person to speak and then the other to listen and receive the information, and then it switches and goes back and forth. So that balance, that reciprocity is super important. And so, yeah, especially when it comes to listening and just receiving their ideas, not making a list of what you're going to say and getting so consumed with that as they're speaking, but really taking in what they're saying, really absorbing, their ideas that they're telling you and giving you, learning from that, and then responding. There could also be some conflicts with siblings that could come up around this placement, some ego clashes with regards to communication, and also some know-it-all tendencies. So not, being humble and open, and, ability to the most open at times to learn new information, but maybe feeling like you have so much knowledge, so much information that you know all, and you have so much to share, that you sort of block space for, for learning, for continuing to expand your mind, to expand your sort of palette of information. And so, yeah, the only true wisdom is not, pretending that you know it all. It's, again, continually learning, continually growing your knowledge base. That's important here. So this is a more in-depth interpretation for the Sun in the third house, and I hope that you enjoy. Let's take a look at the Sun in the fourth house. So this is my personal placement. So when we're looking at the Sun in the fourth house in astrology, we're looking at somebody who expresses who they truly are in their home and family environment, because this is the fourth house. This is home, family, emotional connections, and there's a strong emphasis with the Sun in the fourth house to build stable and nourishing emotional foundations, and to have people in their world who care and love for them. And maybe there's a strong need to nurture others with this placement. And so whatever sign the house is in, whatever sign the Sun is in, then that sign is going to be expressed in the home and family. Now, what's interesting is that my Sun is in Aries, so I am confident in myself, assertive, and I'm really shine my, authentic light. And I'm also very self-directed, and I value, as I said, if I didn't say it before, being assertive and all those Aries traits at home. And so they may like to also preserve traditions and preserve sort of the roots of family, how kind of, ancestry, your ancestry, sort of how traditions were passed down from generation to generation. And those emotional family roots are super valuable for this person, to have a nourishing and loving connection and a close bond with their family that's strong is super important. Um, and so there's a value that this person places on their mother and father, and that relationship is very, very important, especially the father. Um, because what could happen is, say, the son is negatively aspected, or there's a lot of squares and oppositions to the son. Maybe that could suggest a more difficult relationship with the father, or a more stressful, more anxiety based, or more, um, you know, a home environment with more conflict, more animosity, more negativity, um, more stress, or whatever that may be. So, but it could be a more challenging relationship with the father that could involve more conflicts. I know, there's only one, way that I have to describe my relationship um, with my dad. And while we're connected, and we've been connected since I was born, but there's a detachment where there's an emotional wall where him and I are not necessarily as emotionally close as I feel that we should be. And he is not the first person for me to turn to emotionally. And I wish I was, you know, having a closer emotional bond, with him. So that's my, own experience. And so, yeah, the relationship to the father or mother, it may be a very good and healthy, relationship, or it may be a relationship with a lot of strain and, tension and um, difficulty. Um, the moon in astrology does correspond to, the mother. The moon rules Cancer. Cancer is the mother. And then the sun corresponds to the father. My dad has a Leo sun. Leo is ruled by the sun. So, there's more to our synastry, which could suggest an attachment there besides our suns both being in fire signs. And it's interesting to me why I feel that I wouldn't get along with him better than I feel that I do, because our suns are both in the same element. That's interesting. But yeah, so the sun rules the father, the moon rules the mother. Um, and so, those relationships, those parental relationships are very, very important for them to be nourishing and for them to have practical and emotional, foundations. Is important. Now, the other thing about the sun, it rules Leo, and the sun can be your ego, and it can be very controlling and dominating. The sun takes up so much space in the sky, and it wants to command attention. The sun wants to be the center of attention. And there is some emotional neediness with the sun in the fourth house that takes place, maybe mood swings, or maybe emotional needs or desires or wants that can present some obstacles in the home and family environment, or you may have show your sun leonine, qualities of shining, being your true authentic self, but also being controlling in the home environment. Now, my sun's in Aries. Aries is cardinal fire. Cardinal signs are leadership oriented. They want to be in control. So, that issue could, happen. But I do, I don't want to say that is, my Libra moon is, in my chart as well. So while my Aries sun is, very assertive and at worst can be controlling or negatively impulsive. And I say negatively impulsive because there's a nuance to impulsivity, and there's nuance and there's sort of duality and both good and bad, light and dark, with arrogant qualities as well. So, very assertive, focused on the self. That's the Aries Sun, but Libra Moon wants harmony, balance, wants fairness among, everyone, and wants peace and values the other and values relationship. So there is that element in there, but there's certainly, people with the fourth house, depending upon how the sun is aspected, if there's a lot of squares, say the sun square the moon and the sun's in the fourth house, or something like that. But people with the sun in the fourth house may be more controlling in their home environment. So that is something to watch out for, and use your inner power, use your control and your ego for a force of good leadership, not, control and dominating others and being, self-centered in a negative way. Um, yeah, so, there is a need for emotional safety and security and stability. These people have to, especially with their home environment, this is where they're made to shine. This is where they do shine. So naturally, you want that home to be a place where you hang your hat. Naturally, you want the home to be nourishing and with good feng shui elements in it. You want that home environment to be the place to come back to be the place where this person really discovers who they are. And I'm not talking about conditioning or programming or parental values or anything like that. Actually, all these things can be, sources of, what to turn to. And we can, it's important to spin all these things in a healthy way um, to make the home healthy, loving, nurturing for, this particular person. So that is very, very important. Now, the other thing is they can suffer from some emotional insecurities. So, not feeling adequate enough or not feeling secure and at peace and content within themselves. Maybe not feeling grounded enough or present enough or content enough. So that may be an issue. And, you're sort of seeking validation or seeking emotional security in a codependent way, an emotionally manipulative way from the people around you, that you do not feel emotionally secure inside yourself. So you're seeking that from, the external world. And I don't want to make assumptions, but, it's very important for the people with displacement to find the emotional security and nurture and love themselves, um, and not seek that nurturing, that love, and that self-worth and that feeling of peace and stability elsewhere, but to find it within themselves through meditation and journaling and other things like that. Um, And so, the emotional neediness and the being emotionally controlling can cause some conflict and problems in the family environment. So that is something to keep in mind. There can also be some tendencies to be hard emotionally on themselves. There's a mean internal dialogue that can happen with the sun in the fourth house, where they're being self-critical, they're being hard on themselves, they're not being the most emotionally nourishing to themselves. So they're not giving themselves the love and nurturing that they may having enough to give other people externally, but there is a balance with turning that emotional nurturing onto themselves. So, both and. So releasing shadow tendencies of being self-critical comes into an important standing here. So judging yourself, very harshly that you're not enough, etc. So, and, again, needing the validation, needing the assurance emotionally from those around them that, yes, in a healthy way, that, it can be beneficial, but not to the extreme that you are devaluing yourself and that you're basing your self-worth on how other people define you and the emotional security that they give you. My North Node, which is where I'm supposed to be heading in this life, what I'm supposed to be integrating, with the South Node, my North Node's in Taurus, and so, validating myself, having a sense of peaceful and grounded self-worth is important. It really is. So, the people with displacement can be very, very caring and loving. They can also be very independent, self-sufficient individuals, and they may stray away from needing help and, connection with other people, maybe even. But they're very caring, loving people. And they could also be very sensitive to what other people say and to what other people do. So I was, more of a sensitive child growing up. I'm not as sort of private and sensitive as I used to be, because I now understand that what people say is truly a reflection of them and they can have their opinions, and I sort of take it in constructively as I can, but I do not have to let it define me. I do not have to take it personally. What people say, if it's a judgment, if it's a criticism, etc., is a reflection, on who they are, not on who you are. And I think that that is so helpful when it comes to, when people say things, because people are going to say things and speak their truth and do all of that. It is up to you how you interpret that, receive that, and let it define who you are or not. So, yeah. So, very sensitive, and they may keep their private life to themselves. Now, it's interesting is that, my Sun in Aries can sort of grow into being more extroverted. And emotionally honest. My Saturn is in Cancer as well, and I'm really opening up myself emotionally and being emotionally vulnerable, letting the feelings out, allowing yourself to feel the feelings, being honest with what it is you're feeling is, they are lessons that I have learned in life, and they are things that I do strongly believe in. And I am being more emotionally open and maybe even vulnerable and truthful through my videos, through my YouTube channel. And I am becoming more comfortable at expressing myself, the more I make videos, and not getting so wrapped into what other people think, but really finding the freedom to express myself and share it. And I think the younger version of me, because the sun is self-expression, it is your creative life force. And on a personal level, I think the younger version of me would be like, who is this person making, YouTube videos and doing this? Like, I want to do this. I'm actually kind of jealous and kind of envious. Like, that's what I would be thinking, if I was little. Maybe I would try to domineer and say, oh, don't make YouTube videos to me, my little self speaking to my older self. But so, I am, naturally, the more you make videos and posts on social media, the longer that you have a following on social media, then you become more comfortable and more open and more personal. And that does not have to be a bad thing, with the exception of calling, people out and, doing all that. Well, there's a boundary there, however, it's natural. And that emotional honesty and openness isn't a bad thing as long as you don't feel like that you're giving your life away. If you have, social media, a social media platform, and you're watching this, that you don't feel like that there is a boundary that is being crossed, where you're just, opening up and spilling your life, and, there isn't that private boundary, and you say something that, you shouldn't have said, and then you feel embarrassed and, whatever. Um, and so, the boundary between your life and your presence on social media is very, very important. And, um, I believe in that natural boundary there. And I want to say natural boundary. But so, some people, like if the sun is in Aries, they can grow into being more self-expressive, etc. But some some people want to just be more private, and keep that private life to themselves. And as I am growing older, I feel that I am becoming less shy. Um, because when I was younger, I was very shy. Especially because my moon is in the 10th house and the sun in the 4th house. So I was and am still more extroverted in the 4th house area, my life, my home, and family, than I was in the 10th house, because I find that as soon as I enter the work setting or, school setting, I became more shy and introverted because of that moon there in the 10th house of work and career. In your, external public reputation, which, um, Saturn corresponds to the 10th house. My Saturn's in Cancer, and so I surround myself with family in public. That's what I, want to do mostly. So, anyway, and my moon in Libra doesn't necessarily like to do too many things alone. I like to have, people with me, connecting, collaborating for the emotional security, the emotional connection, all those kind of things. And currently, as I'm filming this video, the south node of the moon, which is past habits, past tendencies, unhealthy, habit patterns, is currently moving through Libra. And so that brings up any codependent, people-pleasing tendencies. And I don't relate to the people-pleasing aspect of it, but the codependent tendencies where you rely on other people for, this and that. I think when that south node hits 26 degrees and conjuncts my moon, that may bring up some codependent things, and, habit patterns. So anyway, that is all that I want to say on this placement. Now I'm going to chat about the sun in the 5th house in astrology. So the sun rules Leo. And so the sun also corresponds to the 5th house. So it's, the sun rules over the 5th house. It's considered its rulership or its domicile. So the sun is very happy, if you will, very comfortable in its 5th house because it is its home territory. So I'm going to discuss the 5th house within the context of discussing this placement. Now, the people who have this placement are very, very creative. They enjoy doing whatever lights their soul on fire, whatever they define as being creative self-expression, painting, music. whatever gives them inspiration and what brings them to a state of heart and what brings them joy, what lifts them up, what gets them excited about life. Because they're very, very enthusiastic people. So, they're very enthusiastic. They're very fun-loving. So they enjoy so many different forms of fun and games, such as, especially recreational games, and those kind of things like that. So, various forms of pleasure and entertainment come into play with this placement. So they have a strong sense of power and a strong sense of knowing who they are. And if I didn't say this before, they are very confident people. They also love romance and the thrill that it gives. And there's also a love for acting and drama to a detrimental degree, because acting, they can express themselves from the heart in that way. However, with the drama, it can be too much with, displaying, the emotions and it can be too much, and these people maybe can be overly dramatic, maybe even melodramatic. It's all about them kind of thing. Very sucked into the emotions, because Leo sort of puts on a show, wears their heart on their sleeve, and displays all these extreme, intense, loud, big emotions. Now, there's also love for children, so people with this placement could find great success and purpose and meaning in careers that are based largely around caring for children, taking care of children, being a teacher, being somebody who owns a daycare, whatever it may be, being a parent, a mother or father, spending time with children and engaging with children as they provide light and innocence and just, the sort of good for you, strengthening their inner child. And there is this deep connection with Leo and the inner child. And so, the inner child sort of, when you are living from that space, you're inspired and you play just for the heck of it. You do something because you feel like you want to do it in the moment and you want to have fun in the moment. And so it is a place of freedom apart from, conditioning. We're told we're this certain way and that certain way. Whatever the conditioning may be, and, growing up in the world and having to be an adult and take care of responsibilities, all those kind of things. But what about the fun, more relaxed, maybe even casual side of life where you can let your hair down and really enjoy life? So yeah, these people are full of joy. And so they carry this childlike spirit throughout their life. Hobbies, whatever creative hobby, whatever creative interest, YouTube channel, like I'm making these videos or playing the guitar or whatever it is. It's important for them to find and know things that that feel fun for them, and to just, choose to have a list of the things that they enjoy doing, add to that list over time, and then choose whenever they want to have some fun from an item off of that list. And so whatever hobby it may be. So the downside of the sun in the fifth house, just like Leo, is it can be very egoic. needing a lot of attention, needing the validation and the approval and the recognition and the adoration from everyone around you, needing everyone around you to define who you are and give you that praise. And, it's, really all about them at times, and it can maybe to the point of sucking the life out of other people in the room and taking away from the spotlight of other people. There are others in this world, and if this person can share the spotlight with another while shining their own unique light without that insecurity where they need to take up more of the spotlight and have more of the attention and become very vain, but a true love for who they are and stepping into their authentic self, accepting themselves as they are, and then shining that light with grace. When we do that, then we can find that we are not vain. Vainness comes from a place of not feeling secure in who you are, necessarily speaking. And so it can be too controlling, again, and then too, dramatic with, the display of emotion. So those are some downsides. But anyway, that is what displacement is all about. What if your sun is in the 6th house? Well, if your sun happens to fall in the 6th house, then you're somebody who is very service-oriented, very concerned with helping others, being of use to others in practical ways through, giving advice or for doing something a certain way. Maybe it can be providing somebody with something. Any, career that involves service, a health profession, a nutritionist, a healthcare provider, or whatever that is, whatever that service-oriented, activity or career is, then that's where displacement can really thrive. Maybe, there's a charitable element, giving to charity. Just mowing somebody else's lawn. And so there's a strong commitment and a strong desire and urge to help those around you, to make a difference, to serve those around you, to really feel like you are using your time in a valuable way. You're helping somebody else out. So if you have your sun in the 6th house, it's really important that you value your job, that you consider the work that you're doing. Is it bringing you the results that you want? Is it fulfilling? Is it worthwhile? Are you getting good money from it? Do you feel like that you're being productive? Because a huge thing about this placement is that they need to be productive and, working on something, trying to achieve a goal, put their mind and their mental energy into something and focus on that thing, especially if it involves something that involves attention to details. So your work, because one of the aspects of the 6th house is that it corresponds to work, not necessarily career, but like your job, your day job, the day-to-day things that you do on a daily basis. And it's really important that you have a good job and one that you enjoy, because if you have a job that you may not enjoy, or if it's getting you down, or whatever the case may be, then that can affect your mental health, your mental well-being, your emotional health, and also your physical health. There can be maybe some health problems when you don't enjoy your job. Who knows? But routines are very, very important. A schedule to stick to. You wake up every morning and you chop wood, carry water. You brush your teeth, do all those things. But having a solid schedule and structure that involves things that you do for your health and wellness, things that you do for fun, some relaxation, some downtime in the work that you have to do, and you provide a structure for yourself that is well balanced. Not too much work, and taking care of the details of your life and taking care of your health and service to others and all of that, but also allowing yourself time for self-care, some relaxation time, some downtime, some fun time. So making the structure and routine flexible, and that it can be changed and not so rigid. Not digging into yourself, that rut. But also, sticking to a routine and not getting into a rut of the routine. That's what I was trying to say earlier. So, to have something that is consistent, to have, a routine, to have structure, um, you know, that does involve aspects of it taking care of your health, doing things that are healthy for your mind, body, and spirit. So, it's really important for these people to be of use, efficiency, being on time, getting the work done on time, to put yourself in a situation with certain people, to have sort of, like one of the things is having something that you have to do and getting it done in a certain time. Could displacement thrive under pressure? Who knows? But being efficient is super important. And then developing healthy habits. Is it is it an exercise routine? Getting outside? Is it, eating healthier? Is it yoga? Is it getting on a treadmill, on the physical level? Or is it, I'm going to pull an oracle card every day? Um, and all these things that I say, but I don't do. But the thing about the sixth house is it is an earth house that corresponds to the sign of Virgo, and Virgo wants results. Virgo really puts its feet on the earth, and it deals with the practicalities of life. It doesn't deal with thinking, and it doesn't deal with having the idea in your mind. It deals with actually acting it and putting your mind into the mundane physical world and getting it done. It wants the substance. It wants it to be tangible. With Virgo energy, because Earth energy is about what is tangible. And so, when you can, stick to that routine or that practice, that is healthy for you, and if you know your values and it's healthy for your well-being and all those kind of things, and you value that, and you would stick to that and be consistent to it. And so those healthy habits are super important. These people also make great planners. They can strategize something out very well. They can plan out their day, having a plan, doing this at this time, spending this amount of time at this thing. And also when it comes to achieving a goal, because Virgo rules, not just I'm going to jump from point A to point Z, but point A to point B to point C. It rules all the steps that you have to check off your list to achieve a goal. So planning out the process of, I'm going to start here and I'm going to get here to the final destination. How are we going to achieve this? It isn't just Virgo. It doesn't just go off of impulse. It doesn't have a spontaneous idea and just see what it does takes it. It maps something out and it plans its day. It's going to take me this long to do this, and I'm going to do these things in a particular order. in a particular way. And this is how I'm going to go about this. Because I know that this is going to take more time than something else. So I'm going to plan this accordingly, or whatever. So you can see this involves the mind. This is very mercurial. This is very logical, very left brain, because it takes a rational mind that can have the foresight to, see into the future of, you learn by living, and you can plan accordingly. And yeah, so they make great planners, great organizers that have a lot of organizational skill when it comes to achieving their goal in their workplace, in their career, in just the things that they do on a day-to-day basis in general. They're very, very organized. Keeping a clean, nice space is really important. Having an efficient system which helps your mind, which helps you be focused to get the job done well and with quality, is important. So having an organized system, order out of chaos, comes in to be very important. They're very responsible, hardworking people. They know their duties. They know it has to get done, and they are going to do that. Again, with productivity. So they have a high work ethic. They can really put their mind to something and get it done very well at that. So they're very detail oriented. They pay attention to the little things, but they do not also neglect the bigger picture. They can see both. They sort of know the details of how, things will get done, and the little intricacies and all these kind of things. But the end goal is this. The goal is this. On the large scale, this is what's going on, but these are the details of this. So it's a balance between the details and the big picture. So they're also very analytical people with that. Now, some of the downsides with this placement include being a perfectionist, needing things to be a certain way and feeling that it's not good enough. So you're continually working on it over and over and over again until something is perfect, not moving on to the next step or the next goal or something else until you have worked for something to be a certain way, for something to meet those expectations and those goals that you set in your mind, for it to be perfect, for it to be a certain way, which can be, a good thing to see how something can be improved or polished or done better, because perfectionism can really put you on a new state of evolution, helping you grow and evolve into something more. But perfectionism can be in a downside and detriment when you don't feel that what you have done and what you are doing is worthy of being enough. That you're not satisfied with those results, and you're not seeing um, the the ring around the donut. You're only seeing the hole in the donut, so to speak. You're only caught in those imperfections, not seeing the good in what you're doing. So, losing sight of that. So, the perfectionist tendency is getting caught in perfectionism, continually working at something, which again could have its positive traits, but at a given time, something has to be enough, and just do it and then move on with your life. So with this perfectionism comes workaholism, overworking yourself, getting the details checked off your list, working very, very hard, that you don't allow yourself time for relaxation, self-care, maybe even sleep. Who knows? You could lose sleep over some of the things that you're doing because, your mind is running and you need to get this done and need to get that done. And so allowing yourself a break, allowing yourself that downtime, is really, really important. So not getting caught in workaholism, which can have some negative effects on your mental and physical health in its own way. So overworking yourself to the point of exhaustion is something to look out for. And also being self-critical, not feeling that you are enough, getting caught in the past, shoulda, woulda, couldas. And also, beating yourself up for making mistakes and demanding so much more of yourself that you don't feel like you are enough, and always pushing yourself so much, where that can be too much. And again, it leads into workaholism and negative self-talk and all those kind of things like that. So being critical of yourself, overly critical, and maybe controlling of other people. As the sixth house rules over Virgo, and while it's a mutable sign, which is really adaptable, Virgo wants to be in control of its environment. And so there is this tendency to be very judgmental and critical and controlling of other people, expecting these certain standards, expecting them to do these things in a certain way, to meet this quota by this certain time, do this with certain quality. And there's an understanding here that needs to be learned, that you are human and they are human as well. So, don't expect that much out of them, out of, those people. So yeah, that is really all that I want to say for this particular placement. Now we're going to discuss the sun in the 7th house. So if your sun is in this particular house, first of all, this is very interesting because the sun and the ascendant are, well, maybe they can be close together. The sun is very similar to the ascendant. The sun is your identity, your ego, your individual self-expression. It is you shining your light and, really being you in the world with confidence and power in who you are. And the ascendant is the mask that you wear out into the world. It is the first impression. It is sort of the sign that the ascendant rules is your soul. Something that you're rising towards, something that you're evolving and moving towards in this lifetime. So your rising sign is your soul, and the sun is the ego that acts as a sort of vessel for the soul to move through life in the material, real world. The ego is like, let's pick out this color of clothes to wear. Let's, do all these things. Let's get this job. Let's, have this relationship. All of these things that please and serve the ego, but not as much as the soul. We just have material eyes and the foresight and the mind and the senses built around us to move about in the world, to fulfill our soul and bring peace and happiness to it. Now, the sun in the 7th house. Just moving around here. This is a little bit of a dichotomy. Because the sun is you, your own self-expression, and the 7th house corresponds to the zodiac sign Libra, which is opposite Aries. The sun is considered exalted in Aries. The sun loves to be in Aries. It's a very happy place for the sun, if you will, if you want to look at it from that perspective, because Aries is about you lighting your fire in the world as the individual that you are, and you moving through life in that way where you are after your own goals, what you need and what you want, and you are very connected to your individuality, and you are living a life based off of you and for you. So it's very independent. But then Libra deals with relationship. It deals with co-independence. But it deals with the other. So we have the first 6 signs of the zodiac wheel dealing with you and who you are, and then we relate it to other people, other places in the world, other cultures, and then eventually we get to Pisces and we talk about connecting to the higher power or the divine. And then before Pisces comes Aquarius, and that deals with relating on the scale of understanding our place in the large global picture of humanity. Aquarius is about where you fit in humanity. And it is about what can you do, what contribution can you make as an individual, as you expressing yourself and really doing something for the greater good. So we have this Sun in the 7th house energy, which is very relational. You have 12 signs, and all the 12 houses correspond to the 12 signs. It's just the areas of life that those signs rule. So the people with the Sun in the 7th house, first of all, they have very, very strong sense of justice, right and wrong. This is what is fair for all these people. This is what is ethically correct. And this is what is peaceful. This is what will win people over well. This is what will make people content. This is the solution that is going to bring more people together instead of cause more arguments and friction and conflict and pull other people apart. This solution is not going to have some people being more jealous of these people over here, and then, that, lack of equilibrium and lack of balance. So people with displacement are very, very tuned into justice and what is fair. And they're very good at interacting with other people, compromising, finding peaceful solutions with things to give and take, understanding the other's perspective. That's another strength with the Sun in the 7th house, is being open to people's perspective and wanting to integrate and learn and consider. And, they value and recognize, they validate and acknowledge the other person's viewpoint and perspective and opinion and feelings on certain things. And so they're very good at interacting with people. They have good social skills where they are very open to connecting with people, having, relationships, learning from people, interacting, bouncing off ideas, taking in new information, sharing new information. So it's very verbal energy. And the Sun in the 7th house is really set up for connecting with people on a mental, intellectual level, because Libra is sort of attached intellectual beauty. We find beauty within this conversation, and the beauty of a balanced conversation comes into play here when one person speaks and then the other listens, and it's a balance. So Libra is a masculine air sign. It deals with the beauty in terms of thought and ideas. So there's a talent, there's a good natural thing there with interacting with people. So the Sun in the 7th house definitely feels an innate need that would please the ego for this placement to be in a relationship. They need people in their lives. They feel that they need people in their lives, and they're very, very good at relationships, understanding the balance and the harmony that goes into it, the give and take that goes into it. They can be very diplomatic, and assert themselves, and then speak their truth and express themselves in peaceful ways that does not hurt the others. So they really care, and they really consider the other, and that balance and that peace between the two people involved in the relationship is of high value with this placement. So it's, as you can see, there's a lot of similarities with Libra energy. So they understand the importance of working together with people, working collaboratively, so they can work on a goal to achieve something well with other people. Again, all these social skills, sharing. So sharing energy, sharing ideas, sharing resources, sharing a life, sharing an experience. Sharing and reciprocity is a really huge part of Libra energy. So sharing and not, necessarily being, selfish in a negative way, and keeping things all to yourself and making it so much about you. This is, a huge part of this placement is, it's not just about me. It is about the we, that, you are the mirror that's looking back to me. You are the other half. I feel that, in order to be my true self, I need somebody else. And that can be an issue. We'll talk about that later on. So balance and fairness in relationships are super important. And so they learn a lot about who they are in their relationships. They learn about who they are, their identity, their dreams, their hopes, their habit patterns, their good sides and bad sides, their traits, all this kind of things from relationships. So it's really important that you surround yourself with people who empower you, who uplift you, who nurture you, and who are very peaceful. That they can be collaborative, and they can bring peace. And they're good at making peace, and they understand the importance of relationships. So, interacting with people who are not, domineering, selfish and unhealthy ways. People that are, sort of, your oil and water with them. That there's ego conflicts, or there's, an uphill battle. Because they're, they may be controlling, or unhealthy for your energy. They may take up the spotlight. They may be very difficult to get along and make peace with in general. So being around people, that do, bring that kindness and, love and respect that you bring is important here. It's really important to be discerning with the relationships, and you do not have to be in any relationship or bow down or bend over backwards for anybody if you don't value them, if you don't want to. It is the sun that is your own personal power, and it is you that's living this life, and there's an understanding that you can choose the people that you want to be with and want to be around. And so choosing to be around people who love, care about you, value you, and respect you, that's huge. So, being very discerning. Nope, this person is not worth my time and energy. It's not worth costing my peace or good state of mind, or It's not worth me risking my well-being and going out of my way for this person's demands, or whatever. All these kind of things. So being around people who are good for your energy. So, the people with displacement can also have very good cooperation and negotiating skills. We want to find, we want to make peace. We want to talk it out. We don't want to fight. We want to have a discussion where people can come to a consensus and come to an agreement. And, especially considering how, divided, we are on the political level, in the United States politics. I think that the people with displacement can do very, very well at bringing more people together, in general, and having people being open to the opinions and beliefs that are foreign to them and that they disagree with. And, accepting viewpoints, accepting opinions, and all those kind of things that may be different from your own, and making peace and understanding where the other is coming from. And then through people sharing their opinions and beliefs and all of that, we come to an agreement. And everyone is entitled to their opinion. Everyone has a chance to go around the room and share what they think. Everyone is included. We want everyone to have a say, everyone to be equal, everyone to get along. No one should be left out of the picture. No one should be isolated or less worthy, or invalidated, or, below anybody else. No one is, less important than anybody else. Everyone's special, therefore no one is special. So this bringing people together, harmonizing, peace and harmony, quality is very, very strong and pertinent to Libra energy and the sun in the 7th house. So it doesn't want people to be lonely or divided, or feeling like they can't be included. So they can be very charming. Again, possessing those Libra qualities, charming. There's, charm to sun and 7th house people. Where they, are very good at, socializing, relationships. People are drawn to them and having conversations because of their charm. They have great social skills. So, and so they also see the different perspectives. There's not just one side of the coin. There's not one limited way of thinking, one limited way of living or doing something, or one limited opinion or motive or perspective of something. They can see multiple sides, the different sides of an issue, weighing out the different pros and cons, looking at all different sides before coming to a decision. And there creates an openness with that. So it's very, very good. And so, yeah. Now, the question is, how will they survive without another person? How will they find who they really are? Their true identity, their individuality, their power. Being self-sufficient and living a life according to their values as opposed to the values of the other person. And getting sucked into the maybe even the demands, the desires, the hopes, dreams, and expectations of the other person, who the other person want you to be, as opposed to who you want to be in the world. So again, feeling incomplete, there's this not enoughness or a lack of completion, or feeling like you need the other half to feel complete in who you are, being dependent on somebody else. There is this sense, and I mean, I'm, a Libra moon, so on one level, I could relate to being alone and feeling incomplete, feeling like I would need someone to be by my side so that I can emotionally and intellectually connect with them. So, that is something that, currently when I'm filming this video, the South Node is moving through Libra, and it's all about this idea of finding your true identity, which is Aries, which is your authentic self, working on who you are as an individual, in the world and in your life, and releasing tendencies of feeling like you are not who you are and complete without somebody else, releasing, codependent tendencies, or certain unhealthy dependent tendencies when it comes to, relationship, especially when it deals with entanglement and such things like that. So, it takes two people as individuals to be in relationship, and each people being authentically who they are and being in alignment with their values, their needs, their wants, their goals, and both being included, both being equal, both people being given the space and the permission and the breathing room and the freedom to be who they truly are in order to have a good and healthy relationship. It is the both and between Libra and Aries. It is this balance between independence and codependence. You get co-independence or interdependence. Interdependence, that's that sweet spot in the middle between Aries and Libra. And so the other thing is wanting harmony and peace at all costs. Because one of the downsides of Libra energy is, well, I'm brushing this thing under the rug because I just don't want to cause trouble. I don't want there to be conflict. So, you don't address certain issues. You're not courageous enough and assert yourself and speak to the truth of an issue and voice your opinion. Voice your feelings, what you want changed, what you want to have happen, what you need to have happen. And instead you don't address the issues, you don't address all those things and what you want to address, how you want to express yourself, and then you push it under the rug, and there isn't peace and harmony because you're basically lying to yourself and you're basically denying that inner fire that is inside of you and pushing and shoving it down in order for there to be peace. But do you really feel at peace internally? Or are you just putting on a mask or a facade of peace externally? That you may look peaceful on the outside, you may present yourself as being peaceful and going along to get along and, saying yes and, making people happy and doing all of that. But inside you don't feel peaceful because you are suppressing fire energy and you're suppressing what you need to speak to and you're suppressing your truth. So, so harmony and peace at all costs, not healthy. So, so people pleasing, caring too much of what people think of you, basing your opinions, your values on yourself, your viewpoints and how you view yourself entirely on what another person thinks or feels about you. And there is this understanding that needs to be learned that their opinions and thoughts and feelings about you is just a projection of them. It's just, who they are and not who you are. We're working, it's important for this person to find a strong sense of who they are within themselves. And someone who has the sun in the first house can be a great help with that because they know who they are, and what they want in life. So sun in the first house people can be good at, allowing and being, supportive and being, encouraging, inspiring, and being, mentor, and somebody to balance with this person for them to understand the importance of them forming their own truth about themselves. So, so finding your own power and your own inner strength is really, really important with this placement as well. Now, I'm going to move on to the sun in the 8th house. Now, if you have the sun in the 8th house, here's what it deals with. The sun in the 8th house is not a shallow, superficial placement. It's very deep and intense. It's very strong, very passionate. It wants to get to the bottom of something. It wants to excavate. It's kind of like, you're picturing this image, I think, of, Scorpio, which corresponds to the 8th house, is surgery. In order to have a surgery, a personal story, I had a surgery in December of 2021. It was, dealing with my bowels. Again, I might as well speak to it because all throughout my life, my system, my bowels have been, irregular and all of that. So, in the sort of spirit of talking about taboos and talking about secret things, I brought it up. And it was that kind of surgery, like a sigmoid resection or something like that. I'm speaking to it. I got it out. And so in order for me to have that surgery, the surgeon put in, incisions. And I'm certainly not going to show you those incisions here on this video. Definitely not. But the point being, in order to have a surgery, at least not until Uranus trines Pluto from 2026 to 2028, and all of a sudden we have all this technology come out, all these products come out, and then we make it to a state where we have non-invasive surgery, where you can give surgery to people, you can heal people without cutting into their body, without hurting their body, without harming them. And then all of the complications and difficulties and technicalities and high maintenance things that involves. So, maybe surgeries can be done quicker, less non-invasively, so that's not such a big deal. It's not such a long, drawn-out process. I don't know. Point being that, a surgeon has to cut into somebody, to dig into somebody, like you're digging into something in order to transform them. After a surgery, you go through a transformation. You feel better. You're healed. You're healthier. You're at a better state of being from the time that you went into the surgery, from the time you left the surgery. And so with surgery, there is this connection to, okay, well, you're a butterfly and then you're going through a cocoon. or you're a caterpillar and you go through a cocoon, but in order for that to happen, you have to, the caterpillar dissolve itself, maybe eats itself. There's a lot of graphic details of the cocoon in the chrysalis. But then it emerges as the beautiful butterfly, and then it feels so free, so miraculous, so good, so full of joy, so full of restored, new energy that you can use to live your life. You just feel better, fresh and new because you released something. You went through that transformation, and then you feel way better on the other side. A common, example that we can have a lot is, going to the restroom. It's also really associated with that Scorpio energy. Anyway, so, it's like when you are, like an excavator, like an architect that sort of digs into the ground and pulls up these treasures, pulls up this gold, digs up this truth that has been buried and not discovered before. Sun in the eighth house people make great detectives because they have a knack for really, really getting to the bottom of things and finding the truth. So investigating, solving mysteries, especially if it's in Gemini, which is like the data collector collecting information. Gemini loves to learn, loves to gather the facts and figures, loves to communicate with people. Gemini can be very surface level and sort of going to this place and going to that place. But then you throw in the eighth house and you have somebody who's really, really deep and doesn't settle for surface level stuff. So, so passion, passion in your life, what you're passionate about, going towards that passion, going towards what you desire, um, is super important. And there's also something with eighth house energy that is about merging deeply with somebody else. You're merging your power with somebody else, especially when it comes to money making with somebody else. Maybe this deals with inheriting money, wealth, resources, possessions from somebody else. Maybe it could be the father, because the sun corresponds to the father in astrology. I'd like to think that Saturn is the patriarchy, the traditional rules and regulations of society, how it was always done, because Saturn is those old structures, it is tradition. The sun deals with your connection and relationship to the father archetype in your life as indicated by possibly the sign that your sun is in your natal chart, in that relationship that you had with your father or you have with your father. So, with the eighth house, maybe it could be inheriting wealth, resources from from a family or from another organization or from a mother in law or a father in law. Whatever it may be, that these people could become very wealthy through that. But there is a deep need to merge and have a transformation and an empowerment and a soul merging, the two souls together, transforming, evolving, growing together in a deep karmic bond that is very, very profound and very spiritual. This is, Scorpio energy. And, I'm a Scorpio South Node, so I was reading an Astrology for the Soul by Jen Spiller, and she says what these people really want, what Scorpio South Nodes really want, is to have a deep bond with, one another, with another person. So merging deeply with another. So they may undergo huge transformations in life. Again, very Plutonian experiences where you let something go in order to evolve, in order to change. But, it doesn't come through comfort. It doesn't come through attachment. You sort of have to say no to something. And that may involve some discipline. Discipline means you're saying no to something to saying yes to something. And you're saying yes to something, then you're saying no to something. So discipline, something, letting go of a certain way of being and changing that way of being. Maybe going through certain crises or certain obstacles, certain challenges, which force these people to let go of certain possessions that they value, that they were very close to, and sharing them and giving them away and then inheriting new possessions. And so these people also make great bankers as well. That's another sort of career, deep understanding of the flow of money, of the giving and taking, of the flow of abundance and all those kind of things like that. And then another thing is that there may be a deep self-awareness of personal habit patterns, of personal shadows, of all these kind of deep things about who you really are, personal passions, personal desires. Because the thing about Scorpio energy is that, because the 8th house corresponds to Scorpio, it is a water sign, but it is ruled by Mars. Mars rules Aries. Aries is very male energy. It's primal fire. It's that spark of life. It's real, raw passion, fire, enthusiasm, energy. I feel this way, and I want this thing in this moment, out of impulse. And Scorpio, we can really, really get deep to the deepest, most primal of desires and emotions, and it can indicate those shadows, what you really want at a deep level, and the soul drive to go to that thing. Scorpio is a fixed sign, and they really, really can go to the edge of the world just to achieve something that they desire. Um, so really connected with the self at a deep level, and for them to be connected with themselves at a deep level, the deepest level possible that they can get to, is super important. And so digging into dark topics, occult topics, digging into, crime, all those kind of things like that, maybe being a psychologist and, working with people, understanding, people's, certain challenges, working with them, empowering them, and being a sort of leader for them, someone that they can turn to, someone that they can rely on, that, you can take their secrets to your grave, is, understanding them at that deep level, and being vulnerable, emotionally vulnerable, and understanding who they really are, and who they are at a deeper level, and what's really, really the truth of how they're feeling and what is going on in their life. So that can also be another way you can dig into the surface of things, to dig deep into people's psychology. And yeah, so the taboos of life, this is a huge area to dig into, and so yeah. Now, this is what this placement is all about. Now we're going to take a look at the sun in the 9th house. So if you have your sun in the 9th house, or if you know someone who has their sun in the 9th house, then you are probably very philosophical. because there's a really high emphasis on your outlook on life, especially your mental, spiritual perspective on life, whatever that may be for you. And so, very philosophical, into the higher meaning of things, higher truths of things. And they may also have a love of learning. A love of learning new things. And that's based, the things that you do, the places that you go, what you explore, who you meet in your life experience is largely based around your philosophy on life, your outlook on it. So is it one that is optimistic, coming from a place of inspiration and joy? Is it filled with openness and expansion and luck and positivity? Or is it not that? Whatever it may be. So, you may be very interested in going to higher education. There are people who are older and they end up going back to, college or universities or things like that. But anything to expand your mind beyond what you already know, beyond your small environment, beyond your small community. Expanding your mind, reading books into deep, spiritual, philosophical topics, history, all those kind of things like that. And you can really broaden your mind and enrich your mind through higher education. Now, you also seek the truth. Maybe you have a yearning to seek the truth. They're seekers of the truth. This placement indicates somebody who wants to find the truth in something, who wants to find the higher meaning, their own spiritual truth. It's not necessarily traveling externally and traveling all around the globe and globe trekking like Sagittarius, which, rules the ninth house, is a globe trekker. Where Sagittarius always wants to explore. It seeks the truth and the meaning of life elsewhere. Different cultures, different people, different traditions, different ways of living life. So they seek some deep philosophical truths, but also it is the inner journey, the inner travel of the journey of discovering who you are and gaining wisdom and self-knowledge into who you are through that external soul searching. Sagittarius deals with soul searching. It deals with traveling, that you have signed up to take a voyage and a journey through life, and you'll go in many different places, and you will take in new information and become wiser and learn so much about yourself and discover so much about yourself in that process. So, going with adventure and travel, these people are really into this, assuming that if you have a lot of planets in Sagittarius and your sun is in the ninth house, you love adventure and travel. So traveling different places, adventuring different places, exploring cultures and people from different backgrounds, being a risk taker, taking a risk. I think the saying "go big or go home" was invented by Sagittarius, was invented by the sun, which is big energy. It is what you want to shine out and express to the world. That's your sun. It's what you want to show the world. It's who you came here to be. to build in terms of your sense of self. So go big or go home. This is huge because risk taking, not wanting to be super comfortable and stay small and not expand, not, stay in a comfort zone. You need freedom. You need expansion to grow your mind, to grow your awareness of life. In terms of, mental, philosophical, spiritual expansion. Now, you also need to examine your beliefs. Looking at your beliefs in life, especially the ones that are limiting to your joy, to your expansion, to your soul growth, to your purpose and mission in life. Whatever it may be, it's important that those beliefs are in alignment with what you desire. Are those beliefs that you have in alignment with what you want in life and how you want to experience your life? So, Sagittarius, it's a sign that looks at your outlook on life. So it deals with your, views on it through your experiences that you have. And so it's important to gain wisdom through over time. With age comes wisdom. And don't underestimate the importance of knowledge, but understand that knowledge plus experience equals wisdom. So what's the higher meaning? What's the deeper spiritual point into what you're learning, into where you're going, into what you're doing, into what someone's saying? You may be very drawn to spiritual pursuits, maybe going on a pilgrimage or something like that, who knows? But spiritual pursuits, involved in spirituality, choosing to live a more spiritual life. Maybe it could be getting involved with a religion that resonates with you. Finding your own inner spiritual truth. If Christianity is that truth where you are adhering to commandments and, having that sense of a structured religion, or if you want something that is more freeing, that is more personal to you, whatever is personal to you. You sort of signed up to discover your truth, to discover your spiritual truth. And so I think it's going to be a good idea for you to find a religion that resonates with that truth. And so, you're very open to new ideas and seeing the bigger perspective where you can sort of zoom out and see the bigger picture on life. This is important. So seeing the bigger picture, seeing the broader vision. This is what this placement is all about. So if you have it, I hope that you found this helpful. I wonder what resonates and what doesn't resonate. And this is what you need to know about your sun house placement. So now we're going to take a look at the sun in the 10th house. So the 10th house, the whole focus around this house, it's your career. It is what you do in the world. It is the goals that you want to achieve in terms of financial success, material success. But the 10th house is also recognition. It's also you being recognized for your talents and abilities and what you have to bring forth in terms of your achievements. And there's recognition for those things that you're doing. So if somebody who has the 10th house is very similar to having a Capricorn sun, and the focus is now on career, because it deals with the thing that you get recognized for. So there is an innate understanding with this placement that things take hard work and time and experience. Things don't just happen, all of a sudden out of the blue. You can't just snap your fingers and get something. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens through you putting in the time, the work, the energy, and you having the patience to approach a goal step by step. And you're doing it with excellence. You're giving it all that you have, and you're rising to the top and becoming an expert at something and achieving so many great things. So this is a huge part of the 10th house sun of the 10th house philosophy. There's an understanding here about doing something with discipline, that you are keeping with a goal, having a goal and staying true to it, staying the course, and maybe saying no to certain things in pursuit of that goal, making certain sacrifices to achieve a goal that can be sustainable for the long term. And so you're working hard, you're continually pushing yourself, putting in more time and productivity. You're the mountain goat that's just rising to the top of that mountain. And it isn't easy or smooth, but it is hard work that needs to be done. And the end rewards are very much worth it. And so this is something that the sun in the 10th house person understands. About truly, what is all the hard work that I'm doing and how is it paying off? What are the results of all of this hard work? I get what I put in. I receive what I give. So reaping positive karma is really important. So the people with this placement, if you have this placement, there's a need to be in control. There's a need to be in power and authority, and your relationship to other authority figures in your life, especially parental authority, especially because we're talking about the sun, and the sun deals with the father. So your relationship to your father as an authority is really important. But so you want to be a leader or someone in any kind of position of power, a government official, a president of something, a boss of your business, whatever it may be. There is this need to be in control and be strong in who you are. And so the 10th house also corresponds to the midheaven. And the midheaven in the natal chart is one of the angles that indicates the highest that you can achieve in this lifetime, the highest possible effort that you can achieve through your career. Whatever sign that is in it shows you your career path. So looking to the sign of the midheaven can tell you a lot about that. That can describe your career path, your purpose of why you signed up to be in this life and what you signed up to learn and achieve in your life. What is your reason for being on the planet? What is your reason why you're waking up in the morning and living another day and finding fulfillment and meaning in your day? And also your destiny. What are you destined to achieve and experience? So you want structure. If you have this placement, you want structure, you need structure, and you also create structure. You can also be a good taskmaster. So even if you have this placement and you don't have any earth in your chart, or you have very little earth in your chart, then you do have this element of being conscientious of the need for structure, the need to be organized and put things into order, the need to have a plan and have a disciplined approach to accomplishing something, which also comes through hard work. So, and you want to be in power also. And it's not just achieving your goals in sort of a half on and half off way. It is doing it with excellence and putting in the most effort and time that you can. Doing it with attaining it with the best quality that you can. And so you can be very ambitious in the goals, especially career goals that you want to achieve. And also, when you set your sights on something, when you set your mind on something, when you commit to something, that you can really be focused in on that thing. And, putting the blinders on and be committed to whatever you want to achieve. So those are all really great qualities to describe somebody who has their sun in the 10th house. Now, what if you have your sun in the 11th house? So the sun in the 11th house is very similar to the sun in Aquarius. Now, the 11th house in astrology rules over groups and networks and being with the people who are right for you. So there is a strong need, if you have this placement, to be in a tribe that gets you, to be in a tribe and a group of people that you resonate with. This is really important. Because it is these people that understand you, that you can bond with, that you can network with, that you can collaborate with, that share your same goals and hopes for the future and dreams and the same ideas that you have and values that you hold over life that are going to bring you some meaning. So networking with like-minded people is a huge thing here. Now, some of those values that you have could be freedom and equality. So, seeing injustice may be very difficult, and you want freedom, and you want people to have the freedom to be truly themselves, to be authentically themselves in the grand scheme of humanity, to express themselves as they are with, the quirkiness and all of that. And everyone to be included, everyone to have a voice, everyone to be on the same playing field, no one to be above anybody else. Because, there's freedom and equality, not people up at the top with the, hierarchy who make the rules, who, make the standards. This is how it should be done. And, you need to do these things in this way, and more people having more power and more wealth than other people. This is not the Aquarian vision, for humanity. It's everyone loving each other, accepting each other as they are, and contributing to the larger scheme or the larger sea of humanity. So, and your freedom, your liberation, this is also really important for you to have the freedom to be yourself and engage with whatever people that you want to, whomever you want to, and make your own decisions, live your own life, choose your own personal career that's right for you. And so, like the sign Aquarius, you are very detached, or you can really tap into the ability to see things from a higher perspective. Seeing things from a bird's eye view, rising above the fray and getting intellectual, not so caught up in the events and the people and the emotions and what is going on on the deep, surface level, but really gaining some clarity on an intellectual level. Aquarius deals with detachment. I'm looking at things objectively. I'm seeing things for as they are, and the changes that I need to make, and the changes that people on the broader scale can make. Because the sun in the 11th house really values what is for the highest good and in the best interest of humanity, for the all. Really values humanitarian issues and wants to make a difference and wants to be of service to humanity and contribute to humanity. So this could be through charity, helping people less fortunate than you. This could be just really, putting a lot of focus on those larger issues. So, when it comes to your mind, you're very, very intelligent. You have a good mind. You know a lot. You can gather a lot of information. There's a love of learning and being open to different perspectives and new people and new situations and learning new information. So, yeah, you're a humanitarian. And if I didn't say this before, you understand your place in the larger humanity. And you want to make a difference in the world in some way. Now, there is a very social quality to someone with the sun in the 11th house. They can be very social, very open to communicating and, making friends and sharing ideas and networking, doing all of that. And you may have a lot of supportive friends who are by your side. You may have a wide friend group. And while you're social and outgoing, you need your freedom and independence to be who you truly are, because, you can also be on one level detached and cut off, not really wanting to engage with people in a very deep and emotional, one-on-one way. And especially when it comes to the petty aspects of life or those kind of things. But just chatting intellectually, getting outside of yourself and talking about certain intellectual topics. So you prefer to interact with people on the more higher mental, intellectual level. And so your opinions can change very quickly. You can change your viewpoints and beliefs and perspectives very quickly. And the things that you want to, you can, wake up and pack your bags and go somewhere else at a moment's notice. And you can fluctuate from thing to thing. And you feel and believe this thing about this thing, and then feel and believe this thing about the same thing. And that may be your career. Maybe you have a career, that's working out, but then you find that it's not serving you and it's not, doing it for you. It's not cutting the mustard. You want something more. There's something much more exciting and purposeful. So then you choose, a different career. So change, changing aspects of your life, your relationship, your job, whatever, very rapidly, because of that liberation. Because it's, um, the 11th house corresponds to Aquarius, and Aquarius is ruled by Uranus. So it's the planet of sudden realizations. Uranus is the energy of, well, I'm realizing something all of a sudden, and I have this new insight or this new piece of knowledge, and I want to free myself up from the stagnation and these limitations. And I want to, do something different. I want to start a revolution in my own personal life. When you face the truth of what's going on, and when you do something to radically change up the status quo of your life and get out of the box that you're in and free up that energy, then you can find peace, within yourself. So change is a huge part of, the sun in the 11th house persona. And so you may also be a futurist or someone who can see into the future or thinks of good future visions and plans and technologies and goals for humanity and for yourself as well. Who can you be tomorrow? Aquarius rules the future. It deals with, who can you be? What is the best version of yourself that you could show up as tomorrow instead of today? They're always, Aquarians are always in the future pacing, because the future is not something that has happened yet. And so what do you want your future to be? We're not talking 300 years later. We're talking in the next second or minute or hour, or whatever. So the future is not something that can happen yet, but it is on the horizon, something that you can plan for, act upon, look forward to, and control the outcome of in the present moment. Now, another thing, certain careers for this placement is being a teacher, sharing the huge amounts and abundance of intelligent intellectual knowledge that you have, and also getting involved in politics. Because when you're involved in politics, you can lead people. You can inspire them to be on your side. You can lead a cause. You can have people standing up for this issue. You can support people to be on your side because you know what is in the best interest for humanity as a whole. And you can lead people to victory and to support you as you will better humanity, improve humanity, revolutionize and advance humanity. So that's a little bit about the sun in the 11th house placement. If you had this placement, I hope that you enjoyed. Finally, last but not least, I'm going to be having a really deep conversation about the sun in the 12th house. Perhaps I should switch the lighting. Alrighty. Now, to discuss this placement, if you have your sun in the 12th house, this is very interesting. And why this is so interesting is because it's almost like you could take a vanishing mirror And you would have your ego, your desires, your needs, your wants, your everything of who you are, how you shine in the world, how you show up to socialize, to connect with external situations, to pursue your dreams and goals in the world. All of that masculine action that you take where you ride the seaways of life and you go out into the world and do great things. All of that, those ego desires, a nice car, the promotion, the relationship, all of that, you could just take that and dissolve it. And that's essentially what the sun in the 12th house is all of that ego, which the sun rules. Whatever sign the sun is in, it's your ego. It is how you shine in the world. Who you are, your individual vitality, your energy, your inner power. And then you put the sun in the 12th house. What do you get? Well, you find somebody who's very emotional. That's certainly something. Very, very emotional, very feeling. They feel their feelings on a very deep internal level. Now, they also feel into other people's feelings very well. They may have psychic abilities. Now, in general, they can feel into other people's feelings and feel when they're having a bad day, when they're feeling pain or sorrow or regret, or when they are depressed and when they're in the dumps or when they've hit a rough patch, or when they're celebrating a success, when they're at peace, when they're uplifted, when they are living on cloud nine. The whole range of emotions. When they feel it, you feel it. If you have this placement, it's very likely that you really pick up on the emotions and the energies and the vibrations of other people. So that's why it's so important for your relationships not to be toxic, and for your relationships, especially for you to be with people who bring you peace, who bring you joy, who bring you tranquility, who are good for your energy, that bring you down to earth, that make you feel grounded, that make you feel safe and secure and nurtured on an emotional level. Being with people who resonate with you is something that becomes a bit of an important topic when we're talking about someone with displacement. So, their intuition, the 12th house rules anything spiritual. So your intuition, picking up on when things are wrong, when there's just a vibe in the room and you can sense that something's not right. You can sense that someone's having a bad day. You can sense that maybe this job or maybe this direction or this path in my life or this relationship is not right for you. Or it is. You feel it on a deep, spiritual, intuitive level with your inner knowing. This is a very feminine placement where your instincts, tapping into your intuition, where if you have a feeling, that feeling becomes valid. That feeling matters. And you should allow that intuitive feeling to be the compass to guide your life, the decisions that you make, and the actions that you take based off of what simply feels right. Not based off of the ego, not based off of the logical mind, all those kind of things like that. Other people's opinions of who you should be, what you should do, but inside yourself. When you can feel inside yourself, when you can find those answers inside yourself, those intuitive answers of this is right, this is wrong. And when you can find that power within you that is a spiritual power, where you're connecting with your higher self, you are connecting with your intuition, maybe even your spirit guides, then you can find the peace. And then you can feel that your life is heading in a positive direction, and in a direction that is going to bring you the soul growth and the evolution and the meaning that you're craving. And so another aspect of this placement is being super sensitive to the world around you. Very, very sensitive. Again, to the energies, to the situations going on. Now, the sun also rules the father. If we look at the 12th house, it deals with isolation, it deals with seclusion. So, what does this suggest about the father? If you have this placement, your father may have been absent from your life, may have been unavailable, emotionally, mentally unavailable, not available. And there is a sort of lack of feeling nurtured, a lack of feeling nourished, and a lack of an emotional bond that you truly feel. Now, I can relate to that with my dad, because our relationship, while it's very connected and while we've known each other for so long, I've never truly felt emotionally connected in the way that I want to. He isn't the first person for me to turn to. And so, so the father might have been absent, alone, maybe not available, with some aspects going on. Now, you are a deeply caring person. Very, very loyal, very compassionate, very, very giving, very empathetic. You will do things for other people. These good, noble deeds that you do that are selfless deeds that other people admire you for. Doing these good things to help out another. Something that brings you, that makes you feel useful and productive, as if you are being in service in some way, shape, or form. When you're doing something to help and make a difference in somebody else's life, when you are giving to the person, supporting the person, helping them, doing them a favor in some way, shape, or form. And so you're very loyal, very, very deeply close and devoted to those that you love. One of the sides of the 12th house that needs to be taken into consideration is self-undoing. Now, here's a little saying and a little phrase that I want to sort of bring to your attention. We are all our own worst enemy. We are all our own worst enemy. We make our lives complicated. We are the only ones to choose to cross our boundaries. We are the only ones to put ourselves in a pickle. Now, not all of those things are done by us. We're not responsible for all of those things. Some of those things just happen in life, and they're not our fault. They're not us actually doing it. We just find ourselves in certain circumstances where bad things, difficult, challenging things like crises or traumas or something gets taken away, whatever it is. Whatever it is. Something goes wrong. Stuff hits the fan. Something ends up being very negative. And yet we are in this situation. So the 12th house deals with hidden enemies. It deals with self-defeating behavior specifically. So any toxic, addictive pattern that is not healthy. My example is my compulsions that I'm trying to deal with in my life right now. And things I'm trying to curb with washing hands and, doing whatever, spraying, all those kind of things like that. And things are getting dealt with, and I am finding ways of dealing with it and remedying it in my own life. But in general, when you're doing self-defeating behavior, it is important to bring awareness to it. Be conscious of it. Step onto the observation deck and just observe down from your eagle's perch what you're doing, and then make the decisions not to continue doing it. Not to continue doing the self-defeating behavior. Not easy. I mean, that's easier said than done. It can be so easy to revert back to those same old habit patterns. Healing is not linear. We get better, we improve, we break this pattern, we do something different, we move in a different direction, we heal this aspect of ourselves, we start making strides, and then we go back and forth, and it's not, like a pattern. Healing is not a pattern. Healing isn't a straight line for mine. I've hit rock bottom at the very beginning, and then I just continually keep on getting better without going back to how I was. Well, yes, you continue to keep on getting better, but then you also go back, and then you go forward. Kind of like how Mercury and the planets, say for the sun and moon, they move forward, and then they go back, and then they have us review and reflect, and they retrace their steps. So we take a step back when planets go retrograde. So bringing compassion and acceptance and love and awareness and wisdom to that self-defeating behavior, whatever the self-sabotaging behavior may be for you. You need your time alone. You need time to reflect, to meditate, to pull out your oracle cards, to journal, to replenish your energy. Spirituality. Doing those spiritual practices, living a spiritual life. Now, on an extreme end, it could be shaving your head and becoming a monk. But not necessarily speaking. Maybe it's just spending time alone. Not allowing certain people or circumstances to drain your energy and pull you down. And it's important not to Bend over backwards for them. People please. Be a victim to and or martyr to them and a slave to their demands, to other people's demands, to putting yourself in the limelight, in certain places, with certain people. And you find that you feel all of a sudden energetically like throwing up, energetically drained. And when you feel that sensitivity arise, you need time alone. This displacement, whoever you are watching this, you need time alone. You need time to do whatever spiritual practice it is. Maybe it's going out in nature, maybe it's praying, or whatever it is. You need time for reflection, contemplation, solitude. So this can be very introverted. The sun in the 12th house is a very introverted personality type. It's also important to have a religious faith that you're close to, a solid connection with a higher power and your higher self. Those two things, connection with the divine, something which can give you spiritual meaning and purpose to your life, where you are an animist, or seeing the divinity in many things and or all things, and living your life from a spiritual perspective, trusting the universe, allowing it to guide you. And I could go on and on and on. So, connecting with the super ego instead of the ego, that's another part of this where, you very spiritual, very compassionate, care about the good of all, in alignment with your higher self, as I said before. Now, going back to hidden enemies, being very, very aware of your personal shadows, shadow behavior, shadow aspects of yourself that you may want to push down and deny and disown and hate for all they are worth. And those shadows will continue to come back up until you look at them, until you accept them, until you allow them a seat at the table, until you allow them a voice, until you accept the shadows. Face them head on. Bring light and awareness to those shadows. And gradually work to, with self-awareness, self-knowledge, heal the shadows. The 12th house is also the blind spot, the things that we don't see very clearly. The 12th house as a level can be very disillusioning. Disillusionment, illusions, not seeing things clearly. So maybe you could just not see things clearly, or maybe, I don't know. But that's what the 12th house deals with, so it's very important to pay attention to things and see past the illusions and the rose-colored glasses. I think that you're here to find the truth in things, the true meaning, the true spiritual answers in things that go beyond the superficial illusions that can pull you in, that can gravitate you in. And then you end up going towards the sirens, towards their island, and then it's the biggest regret of your life. So, the blind spot. You're driving, you're looking into your mirror, and a car is passing you. You don't see them. Or, whatever it is. So that's another part of the 12th house in general. It deals with the hidden and mysterious aspects of yourself. So you're here to dive deep into yourself, to dive deep into who you are and the mysterious and hidden parts of who you truly are. You're here to uncover those and live from a place of love and acceptance of those things and integration of those things. Wholeness. You're here to find wholeness. Now, something else is to not get caught in victimhood or escapism tendencies. To not get caught in victimhood. Woe is me, I'm not very powerful. I don't have a whole lot of power. You're here to find your own inner spiritual power within you. So don't believe that you don't have the power and that you're a victim to your life and the circumstances, because that is a low frequency of Pisces energy, which the 12th house corresponds to. The downside of Pisces energy, Neptune energy, is victimhood, but the upside is transcendence. It is divinity. It is spiritual empowerment. Negative escapism tendencies. This is a big one. Whatever means of escaping the world and facing it head on, because of the sensitivity, because of a part of you not wanting to engage in the world subconsciously, and listening to that part of you, allowing that part of you a seat at the table. Maybe if a spaceship landed, you would be the first one on board. And that's okay. Because you need that alone time. And the escapism. Now, finding means of escaping. Not, escaping the reality and the things that you need to deal with. Now you're going to put yourself out into the world, express yourself, and shine your light and all that business. But the escapism tendencies, not overdoing it, not overindulging in those tendencies, not taking it to the dark side, not any destructive tendency that is, you escaping reality in unhealthy ways. Now, maybe part of the programming and conditioning that you learned when you were young is that maybe your personal needs, your desires, your wants don't matter. They're not important as opposed to other people's. They don't have a place. Maybe you didn't feel like you could shine. Maybe you just were shy or became shy. And you feel unworthy probably, or not enough. Not loving yourself as you are. Realizing that you are enough. You are worthy of receiving all the love and all the nurturing and all the joy and all the abundance and living the life and achieving the goals that you want to in life. And you're worthy. You are worthy of all that life has to offer. And you are enough. So, yeah. Insecurity. Suffering from insecurity about who you are. Not feeling peaceful in who you are. Maybe feeling unloved. Maybe there's this feeling that subconsciously nobody gets you, nobody understands you and your feelings and your sensitivities and all of that. And I don't want to label people like, oh, they're sensitive and you have these sensitivities. You are who you are. With the sign that your sun is in, the aspects that the sun makes to other planets and points in your chart. But there may be this feeling that I am a lone wolf. I'm on an island all by myself and nobody understands me. Nobody understands how I'm feeling, or nobody takes the time to ask how I'm feeling or consider how I'm feeling. Or nobody really sits with me and connects with me on that deep emotional level. That does go back to maybe feeling not as nurtured and as loved as your soul wanted to feel growing up. Now, you may also, there may be suffering from feeling lonely and depressed with this, feeling very down in the dumps of these two things. You can add in these two things. Now, I think another aspect of it is that, well, everyone can see how confident and how powerful and how loving, caring, how brilliant that you shine in the world. Your brilliance, your true light and authenticity. But, the gold that you have alchemized and what you're putting forth into the world. And, your gifts and your talents and all of that. While other people may see all of that, you may not realize it in yourself. Now, there may be some low self-esteem and low self-confidence where you cannot see yourself. You can't, I don't want to say you can't, but it may be more difficult to recognize and acknowledge and to see that about yourself. Like, oh, I do have these gifts. Oh, I do have these abilities. I do have this amazing, tremendous power vested inside of me that other people are complimenting me on, other people are giving me credit for, acknowledging me, coming to me for guidance and wisdom, loving me for, seeing me for, knowing me for. But then I can't see it within myself, and I can't give myself all the same love and all the same approval and all the same just positive self-talk and praise and, again, recognition that you have these gifts, that you have this power, that you are important and all of that. So it's okay to, place yourself up on a higher pedestal. You do matter. You are not broken and you are important. And you may need to be reminded of that on the external level. There may need to be people, and you might just find yourself in situations where those people who can just add a little help to your life, add a little favor, where they can lend a hand and they can move things along for you, where you are seeing a mirror, where they are the mirror for you to see your true beauty and authentic light, an authentic divine spirit. It is about finding that within yourself, but then being open to receiving it when other people show you that mirror, to show you how beautiful, how special, and how powerful you really are. And that's the sun in the 12th house. I want to thank you personally for taking this journey with me to watch this video, to watch your sun in your house placement, whatever it may be. I hope that you learned a lot. I hope that you gained tremendous value from this video. I hope that you'll take the insights and the information here and reflect on how it applies to your own life. And without further ado, take good care of yourself. Be well. May you be blessed. And I'll see you in another video.